So Iran warns of full-scale war in 3 days.
Yeah, so so the US just bombing Iran as we speak. But the reason this one is significant is because they struck deep inside Iran not for the first time, but this is a pretty significant one. And they struck this city. Let me give you the name. I had it just saved now. There it is here. The city's called Yazid. It has a lot of the underground missile facilities, but also part of their nuclear program, not a significant part. You can show it in the map, Stephanie, in the middle of Iran. So that was struck just now. There's been multiple explosions there. And Tasnim News just confirmed that it was struck. They've issued a statement that it was struck about 20 minutes ago. And obviously this is, again, we just keep seeing the escalation on the American side and Iran responding with escalation as well. We saw the infrastructure, the bridges struck. This is Yaz there in the middle. Scroll up, you can see there, that's in the middle there. The infrastructure struck, the bridges struck in Iran. Iran responded by striking infrastructure, including a desalination plant and power plant in Kuwait. I saw reports of limited power rationing in Kuwait. And now we saw significant strike in Bandar Abbas. We've seen that happen before. And strikes deeper into Iran. We don't know what was targeted. We don't know how significant, how extensive they were. And meanwhile, just 2 minutes ago, the IRGC announces that 2 oil tankers exploded after hitting Iranian naval mines in the southern route, the Omani route to the Strait of Hormuz.
So what I said reported the other day, the reports that Iran mined the Omani route, the southern passage. Yeah, they've shut that down for good. They put mines in here. And now 2 ships have hit them. There was 1 ship earlier this week that hit them, so 3 total now. That southern route is dead.
That just came in now as well. The IRGC announces that 2 oil tankers exploded after hitting Iranian naval mines. So that's, we didn't even get into the statement by Pakistan or the statement by Iran about the war continuing. We didn't even get to that, but that's just in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Not to make people feel good. The war, this is going to go on probably for another week and a half at least, maybe 2 weeks. And then the United States is going to run out of gas. Literally.
Gas and weapons, precision weapons to be clear. When we talk about shortage of U.S. ammunition, it's not all ammunition. Dumb bombs. That means bombs that you just put in a bomber aircraft and you just drop and they fall by gravity and carpet bomb a place. That we've got a lot of those. Probably some of them left over from World War II. That's not the problem. The problem is precision guided ammunition that'll fly like 100, 200, 300 miles and then hit its target. So you can hit from a distance safely.
Run out of diesel. But the United States will be using up weapons that it doesn't have surplus for. So each day drains the United States of one more group of attack vectors that they can't replace.
Yeah, so on top of it as well, we have the IRGC Major General Mohsen Rezai put out a statement. So far throughout, since the ceasefire and even during...
By the way, the reason I react to Larry Johnson and Mario Nafeld, the conversation between these two, is they happen to have their stream about the time I start streaming, like an hour before. So it's the most up-to-date live stream about the Iran situation that I can react to. And that's why I often tune into it.
During the war, but mainly in the ceasefire, what we've seen is the US strikes, Iran retaliates. The US strikes, Iran retaliates. There's been, there hasn't been any exceptions. But what we've seen is Iran's retaliation being more aggressive than it was during the war and escalating in the last few weeks as well. Well, the IRGC Major General Mohsen Rezai has warned that if the U.S. attacks continue for another 2 to 3 days, Iran will enter a, quote, full-scale offensive phase, no longer limiting its response to reciprocal strikes. Quote, the Americans should prepare for waves of Iranian missiles and drones. Adding that then he added that military operations against Iran would trigger a broader response. So he's warning the Americans that, hey, look, that tit for tat that we'll be seeing in the last few weeks is going to change. The rules of engagement will change if this continues. So that's the worry
I would listen to what the Iranians are saying. I think they mean what they say. And
they have so far.
Like U.S. hit bridges in Iran last night, and then Iran hit the bridge separating Saudi Arabia from Bahrain.
I talked about this yesterday. Once found out that the U.S. had hit 3 bridges, my immediate thought was, okay, this is what they'll go after right here. The bridge, Bahrain, country of Bahrain, an island, only bridge linking it to Saudi Arabia, to the mainland. And they went after that. Yeah, when the United States started targeting bridge, I was thinking Bahrain is screwed.
Still no good report on how much damage was done. If there was
Yeah,
no
I've been able to get info on that. Yeah.
if there was no damage done, I bet you'd be seeing pictures right and left. Hey, we're driving across the bridge, no problem. Hey, waving. You're not seeing that. That tells me that they caused significant damage.
Yeah, I saw the reports. We talked about it yesterday. The reports of that bridge between Bahrain and Saudi being struck. And even if it wasn't significant damage, it would have been. A lot of these exactly symbolism of it. A lot of these are warnings similar to the strikes in Saudi and the UAE. I even think the strike on the desalination plant in Kuwait would be a warning as well. And I think I think the message is pretty clear that if the Americans decide to cause a lot of damage in Iran, there's going to be a lot of damage in the Gulf. If the damage in Iran is military, the damage in the Gulf is military. But the damage in Iran is infrastructure. The damage in the Gulf.
That's exactly what they did in the first 40 days of the war. They mirrored whatever damage was done to them: military, civilian.
Gulf is infrastructure, and that's been the situation since the early days of the war. But what concerns me now is that we're crossing the lines that we used to talk about during the war. Like, will they strike a desalination plant? Will they strike bridges? Remember when they struck the one bridge, everyone was up in arms. Well, now these are happening on a bigger scale, and not many people are talking about it, which that part worries me.
Well, the United States is they're going to keep pushing the envelope.
Worries you? The reporting on this war hasn't been honest from the beginning, and even now, the United States is still claiming it's won. Like, Trump's claiming it's won, and media isn't challenging him on that. And so, don't expect honesty from the media.
Envelope until it cuts them. And Iran is better positioned than the United States to destroy the U.S. ability to continue to fight. If you're not operating from the two air bases in Jordan, that's where the primary combat air operations are originating. And then today you had Trump talking about wanting to send more KC-135s to be based in Israel. Yeah. Just after we saw the Israelis saying, hey, get the hell out, or at least the Minister of Transportation. And then the White House leaned on Bibi. I think that maybe one reason Bibi didn't get to come to Washington on Monday. The White House said, hey, you're not coming until those are we're allowed to do that. And so at some point, Iran's going to hit those bases in Israel, and we'll take out the KC-135s. That's one way to stop the airstrikes, at least from land. Now, that doesn't deal with the aircraft carriers. The aircraft carriers are a whole nother.
What he's talking about is to bomb Iran. The fighter jets are being kept far away. To go in, get close enough to Iran, fighters need to be refueled one time on the way there, one time on the way back by one of those refueling tankers. And right now they're all being stationed in Israel, right here. So if Iran were to strike them without refueling tankers, that practically eliminates the U.S.'s ability to attack Iran from land bases. That still leaves the aircraft carriers out here. But the aircraft carriers, they actually need refueling tankers too, because they're staying so far away from Iran that the fighter jets can't reach it. So either you have to move the aircraft carriers close enough that they might get shot at, or you have to somehow get, again, refueling tankers. The planes that refuel jets in the air.
Issue. And I just saw a report about a half hour ago that Iranian forces with an anti-ship missile hit a U.S. ship in the Indian Ocean, a supply ship. Don't know how much damage was done.
Yeah. I saw that report. I didn't save it. Do you remember what the source was? I saw it, but I didn't save it. Oh, there it is. Hold on. No, that's not it. I'll find it. I was reading about it earlier. It was not long ago.
Yeah.
There it is. The Iranian army says, okay, that was, yes.
It was from the Middle East Spectator.
Yeah.
Iran takes responsibility for targeting an enemy ship in the Indian Ocean, or what it calls Operation Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt, yeah. And that's from the IRGC, I think. Breaking Iran takes responsibility. Yeah, so this is, the IRGC said that the ship was targeted with anti-ship cruise missiles. So the Iranians have said they've struck that ship, and they said two other ships got hit hard. Sorry, blew up, they said, according to mines. Now, there's a report that I don't think is true, that one. The Iranians said they killed American soldiers in a Syrian base. But for my research, I don't know if you know which base, I can get you the name if you like.
Al-Tam.
Yeah.
Al-Tam.
And then what hold on, let me get it. I've got the notes here where actually American troops left the base years ago. So I'm not sure if that would be Syrian troops that were killed. Do you know much about this at all?
No, not beyond what you report. I mean, Al-Tam used to be its importance has diminished with the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria in general, because it was a support base, it was a gateway base. You went through Al Tanf to get into various parts of Syria or to operate in northern and western Iraq.
Yeah, so this is a report by someone who believes that this claim is not true. Iran has claimed that overnight strikes targeted the Al-Tams military base and possibly nearby airstrip in southern Syria, allegedly killing multiple U.S. personnel and destroying large amounts of American military equipment. But before I continue, just for the audience, we always, whenever there's American casualties, we really focus on it. One of the reasons is that Trump has made that a red line himself, saying, we'll go back to full-blown war. Technically, we are really, but that's what he said, if there's American casualties. But also it makes it politically difficult for Trump not to escalate the war, because when there's no American casualties, justifying this war is very hard for the average voter. But as soon as, that's why a lot of, even my guests talked about.
I disagree. Casualties will not help. Casualties, if it's like Pearl Harbor, where the other side surprise attacks and kills a lot of Americans, yes, that's galvanizing. But in a war that Trump decided to start, Trump decided to bomb Supreme Leader, Trump decides to launch ground invasion, then there's casualties. People will be more mad at Trump than the Iranians, because of course Iranians will fight back if you invade them. Yeah, some people will be galvanized, but I say an equal amount will be angry at Trump, saying those troops didn't need to die. You just sent them in on a suicide mission.
Flag attack. If an American warship gets sunk, for example, then Trump has no choice but to really escalate. Based on the average voter that doesn't really understand the intricate details of the war. The claim is entirely fabricated. The U.S. withdrew from the base 4 months ago at the start of February and early 2026. Not only has the U.S. withdrawn, but Syria's use of the base is very minimal and it remains inactive. American troops are not present. That's all the information we have now. Obviously, that could have changed for this war, the same way we had secret bases in Iraq. For this war, there could have been a secret base in Syria. But from the information that I found, American troops are also not present at any of the border bases of Iraq, including the 4th Border Brigade, which is directly opposite Al Tanf. The only American deployment.
I'm sure there are U.S. bases that aren't officially acknowledged, just like Israel has these bases in Iraq that aren't officially acknowledged either. Trying to avoid being shot at by Iran. They're not going to admit they have bases anywhere.
Approximately 300 to 400 personnel present in the wider area are at Tower 22 in Jordan. But if this claim is true, that would be pretty significant. The other significant thing I want to really get your thoughts on, something we discussed briefly yesterday. The Pakistanis are increasing their rhetoric. Not sure if you saw this, but they put out a statement today. The Pakistani military spokesperson, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, said that any threat to Saudi, reaffirmed a statement made beforehand, any threat to Saudi is also a threat to us. Any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both. So they've reaffirmed the support for Saudi if Saudi is attacked. So not sure how you would interpret that and whether this is more symbolic or Pakistan may be dragged into the war.
No, meaningless, symbolic. Number one, when the Saudis, whoever authorized the attack on Monday, and the Saudis have denied it.
The attack on Yemen?
Yes.
Yes. So that attack on Yemen, on Sana'a, the airport. The local Yemeni government claimed that it did it. And it's an ally of Saudi Arabia. But then two American officials said
the Yemen claims it attacks its own airport. Yeah, right.
Saudis did it. The Houthis responded immediately and hit the airfield in southern Saudi Arabia, southwest Saudi Arabia. And since then, what's happened? Nothing. In fact, today, the Saudis announced that they're going to fly into Sana'a. They're reestablishing a flight route.
Yeah, the Jordanian one, I saw that. They're allowing, so they usually have a blockade of Sana'a, but as a gesture of goodwill, I just saw that before we went live, they've allowed commercial flights from Jordan to Sana'a, to Yemen.
So that tells you that there's been some behind the scenes. I mean, what Pepe and I learned from the sources that we had access to in Pakistan is reportedly Pakistan went to MBS and basically said, "What the hell are you doing? You got your head up your ass? What are you trying to do? Stop." He stopped. Nothing on Tuesday.
And you know why? Stop. Pakistan's right here, and it's getting a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia. If the Red Sea gets closed, the ships to Pakistan now have to go all the way around Africa. Makes the trip like 5-6 times as long. More expensive. You need 5 or 6 times more ships just to maintain the same level of crude flow to Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan does not want Red Sea closed. even maybe even more than Saudi Arabia.
Tuesday, nothing on Wednesday, nothing on Thursday. Here we are on Friday, nothing. In fact, today we're gonna start flying back into Sana'a. So they're deactivating that. China, Russia, and Pakistan are all pushing for the MOU to be reinstated to get back to negotiating.
Won't happen.
I'm not sure how willing the Iranians are going to be will be to do that. I think they're going to make an excellent case that we're not the ones that broke the MOU. So you get the United States back on board, then we'll consider something. But until the United States shows up and starts complying, which means the United States has got to lift the blockade, the United States lifts the sanctions. It's going to be quite a climb down for Trump, and I don't think Trump at this point is willing to do. However,
not yet.
We have another week or so of pain with the diesel shortage and aviation fuel shortage throughout the world now, not just in one location. Price of diesel going up steadily. Price of aviation fuel going up steadily.
Oh, Larry has come around to my view that the only solution to all this is the oil shortage, the diesel shortage, the jet fuel shortage that's going to happen this summer. End of July, beginning of August. And yes, that is going to be the solution that finally makes Trump surrender to Iran.
At some point, the U.S. is going to have to back down. Because they're not going to defeat Iran. They're not going to.
Also, U.S. is running out of precision ammunition again.
Degrade Iran to the point that Iran's going to be pleading for mercy. That's what the U.S. hopes. That's what many advisors are telling Trump, but it's not going to happen.
Wishful thinking on Trump's part. He doesn't want to recognize his loss, so he's gambling that we'll bomb them a couple more times and maybe they'll surrender to us.
Yeah, so in terms of the news link indicating a potential escalation in the war, so we have the warning from the IRGC Major General of full-scale offensive in 2 to 3 days if the American attacks continue. Then we have a YNET report, which is what you just mentioned as well a few minutes ago. The U.S. has reportedly deployed dozens of aerial refueling aircraft to Israel ahead of a possible escalation with Iran. So we had reports that they informed the Israelis they're going to deploy them. That's a report I saw earlier today. So a report came out in the last half an hour that they've deployed them already. They've deployed dozens, according to YNET. 10 additional tanker aircraft are expected to arrive on Friday and Saturday and will be based at the Israeli Air Force facilities instead of the Ben Gurion Airport due to congestion concerns. The report adds that more than 60 refueling aircraft have arrived in Israel so far, including 33 stationed at Ben Gurion Airport. So that's another sign of escalation. And obviously, we've got the report from Channel 12 and Axios. U.S. and Israeli officials have stated that Trump may order an escalation in the coming days. That's according to Channel 12 and Axios, two separate reports. And the consideration is for broader strikes targeting Iranian infrastructure, nuclear facilities, and underground sites like Pickaxe Mountain. We've spoken about these before, and underground, and he could order an escalation in the coming days. So that's something we saw a similar report.
He will, because right now talks are dead. His only other option is to surrender, and so he's not going to do that.
Yesterday, so it's another one there.
The only question is whether he's going to launch ground invasion. That needs to happen in next week, if it's happening. So we'll see. Maybe this weekend.
Yeah, and then Netanyahu also warned Iran against retaliating, saying, do not count on it being quiet if you attack us. This will be a different event, much more powerful. So as Trump is considering more strikes, and strikes on their infrastructure, Netanyahu's warning Iran not to attack Israel, which you said earlier that they could attack Israel, and now that the refueling aircraft are operating from airports in Israel, more refueling aircraft are operating from there.
Yep.
Yeah, and so Israel will be attacked ultimately. If those aircraft are used to attack Iran's going to retaliate and will attack Israel. Real simple. Not complicated.
Yeah. Also, a large squadron of F-16s are coming to the region as well. I know we talk a lot, me and you, about and you watch this closely, the movement of the military assets. From what you've seen so far, obviously what we've discussed in our daily discussions, but what you've seen as well, what would you put the likelihood of this escalating significantly?
Well, define significantly. Will they escalate to the point of what they were doing during the first 40 days? No, because they still won't have enough aircraft to do it. And frankly, they're going to be short on munitions, weapons. Is it going to be more than what they're doing right now? Yes, temporarily. But then they're going to run into the problem that Iran gets a vote as well. And Iran is going to be retaliating. And the retaliating is going to be very, very painful for the United States because Iran has got the benefit of the Beidou missiles or guidance systems. the Chinese version of GPS that has tremendously improved the accuracy.
Yeah, I mentioned that several times on stream. Last year, during the 12-day war, Iran used GPS for all its missiles and drones, and they were jammed by the United States and Israel. They didn't perform as they should have. And since then, Iran switched over to the Chinese Baidu system, as you mentioned, which is better than GPS, and so they have excellent precision.
What the Iranian missiles can do. So they can basically hit any site that they want. In the past, back a year ago when Iran was using GPS, that was actually a form of air defense that Israel could use, because they could jam the GPS signal or spoof it so that it would direct the rocket to, or the missile to another location that wasn't critical or wasn't as damaging as what was originally targeted. That's not the case now. So Iran's ability to target and hit very precise locations is quite high now.
And with that targeting, Stephanie, if you can find the videos of them targeting the mayhem in the Iraqi Kurdistan region, Sulaimania.
Suleimania.
So that's in Iraqi Kurdistan, and they've struck it hard. And that to me indicates Iranian concerns that the Kurds could be involved in all this. They bombed the hell out of it every day, but today was a very, very heavy day, probably the heaviest since the war started in terms of intensity of the attacks. And the videos now will show the extent of the damage that was caused there to the not only the American forces, but it's mainly the Kurds, the Kurdish groups that are there. Would you interpret this as well as Iran concerned that maybe the Kurdish groups or other groups, in this case the Kurdish groups, are being armed by the US for some sort of...
Absolutely, they're being armed for an operation. Better have other people rather than Americans die to take on Iran. So that's the way we love to operate. Like we're sending Ukrainians to die against Russia.
Operation?
Well, they know they're being armed for an operation, which is why, when Trump said that somebody else would give, he wasn't going to put boots on the ground that somebody else would. He meant the Kurds, and the Iranians heard it and said, okay. And that's why the Kurds are getting pounded today.
Yeah. Man, I'm getting a lot of reports about the 2 oil tankers exploding after triggering Iranian naval mines. Everyone's saying exploding. I haven't had official confirmation yet. People are using the term explode. 2 to hit the mine at the same time is a bit bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that's what a day. What a day. It's hard to say for people that try to say, look, we haven't seen full-blown war. It's back.
By the way, this is what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. It's a slightly different graph. It's a little bit bigger in this version of the graph, but we're still back down to it being completely closed now. And there's still a huge amount of oil missing. Another month and a half, and Iran wins.
We're kind of cross that line. We're not seeing the intensity attacks. They're 90% less. We've talked about this, but the targeting on the American side. And what's interesting as well, I don't know if I mentioned this to you yesterday, is that the intensity of the American attacks are 90% lower than they were during the war. But the intensity of the Iranian retaliation is no lower recently than it was during the war, putting Israel aside. The attacks in Qatar yesterday were massive. Some people in Qatar, I don't know if I told you that yesterday, but some people in Qatar are saying, I think I told you, it's the most extensive bombardment they've faced since the war started.
Mm-hmm.
That's how heavy the attacks is. And we saw Bahrain and Kuwait. But what's most concerning in this case is not the intensity.
They don't want to be attacked, then all they have to do is get rid of these bases. All these US bases here. All these bases here for Bahrain. Get rid of them. And they won't be attacked no more.
The attacks is the targeting. Bridges, power plants, desalination plants. We're not seeing assassination strikes. But also the Iranian the Iranians are being able to fire very freely and comfortably. This is an analysis here by an account. There is evidently a very limited suppression of Iranian missile bases currently, which we know because they're not targeting those missile bases. Iran is launching very freely, comfortably, and at a leisurely pace. Why? Most importantly, because Israel is not involved. Iran is huge. I think it's by Middle East Spectator as well. Iran is huge. It's impossible for the US to suppress Western and Southern Iran simultaneously 24/7. Previously, Israel took care of the Western areas in Iran. Secondly, Iran is launching so many missiles and drones at US bases that they themselves are being suppressed. Mufawak Salti, Al Udeid, Ali Al Salam, these types of primary forward bases have been rendered pretty much useless at this stage of the war. The US is now extremely reliant on its carrier fleet in the Arabian Sea. Lastly, in many cases, US aviation is being forced to carry out secondary duties like defending UAE, Bahraini, Saudi airspace from drone attacks due to critically low interceptor stockpiles. This limits their availability for combat missions.
Yeah, our position is much weaker now than it was at the start of the war. Our bases are wrecked. Our ability to strike Iran is being degraded every day.
Another indication, which is why this was bizarre, just so many indications that point that this being a very stupid war. It's just not making sense. Let me see the source of this analysis. I don't know if it's
I read it. I thought it was actually on point.
Yeah. I agree. I'm just trying to find the source quickly.
Asmigul still thinks we're winning.
This is Middle East Spectator, just for the audience. That's an account that's very pro-Iranian. But the analysis, it makes sense. Like, we are actually observing that. So I don't know. I just feel like there's something we're missing that would make this make sense, because I'm not able to make sense of it.
That makes perfect sense to me. Trump doesn't want to surrender to Iran, so he's throwing a tantrum. One last tantrum before he's forced to bite the bullet and commit political suicide and surrender to Iran. It's not more complicated than that.
No, I think it's just Trump has been persuaded by the likes of Stephen Miller and other Zionists, both in the Congress and
he's been persuaded because he wants to be persuaded, because he's found out with the MOU that surrendering to Iran is political suicide. He gets attacked from media, from neocons, from pro-Israel lobby, even as the Asmigults of the world. The only reason Asmigul didn't turn against Trump for the MOU was because he believed the MOU was nonsense and the United States was never going to abide by it. If Trump had stuck to the MOU and all the points in it, so basically the Iranian surrender, then Asmigul would have turned on Trump too. And Trump knows that. So that's why he's easily allowed himself to be persuaded that let's just bomb Iran a little bit more and maybe something will happen.
And not just Jewish members, I'm talking Christian Zionists, that Iran is vulnerable. You just have to put pressure, economic pressure on the society, and they'll crack. And that's what they're doing with this, these series of strikes on Iran, thinking, okay, it's going to force them to crack. And it's not. It's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to piss them off even more and make it more resistance to anything the United States has to say.
Yeah. And if you look at what we're showing now, we've talked about one of these towers a few days ago. They've struck one again, either the same one or a different one. If you put the video next one, just completely destroyed it this time. This is in Shabahar. So they're really focusing on these towers, which could be seen two ways. One is degrading Iran's ability to control the Strait of Hormuz. We've talked a lot about this, or a shaping operation for some sort of ground operation, which we've also talked a lot about. But this is a video that came out now. They're still striking those towers. We haven't seen them really target the missile launchers or the missile infrastructure. They seem to have, for some,
given up on it because they tried that for 40 days. During the first 40 days of the war, the United States' main focus was trying to stop the Iranian missiles from coming in on the Gulf states, on Israel. And so they went after the launchers, they went after launch sites, they tried to go after the underground missile cities, and they failed. For 40 days, they went after it, and they failed. So this time around, they're not even trying.
Some reason, at least not yet, they haven't targeted those. Whether they just don't think the strategy works, considering they're underground, or whether the objective is not to degrade.
That's the key. They're underground. They can't reach them.
Yeah.
They had 42 days to destroy them. How'd they do?
Exactly.
They failed. And so now all of a sudden they're going to get lucky. Sorry. Not going to happen.
Have you got more thoughts on the targeting of those bridges since we last spoke about it yesterday? I'll show some images now. They've targeted 7 bridges. Iranian state media reported that overnight US airstrikes in Hormuz
was 3 yesterday. Now it's 7.
Province targeted 6 bridges in the Bandar Abbas Lar route, between the route between Lar and Bandar Abbas. And these are the names of the bridges. There's no need for me to read them. The bridge that was targeted, one of the bridges targeted by the US was a major road connecting Bandar Abbas to Laristan, and from there to Shiraz. And then there's footage, if you can play that footage as well, of so after you show the bridge, you play that footage, Stephanie. Footage appears to show a long line of fuel tankers backed up near the Kharistan bridge in Iran's Hormozgan province, following the US airstrikes.
Yes, the bridge is destroyed, but this type won't take long to repair. It's not. It's a pretty short gap. Even to and look, there's already an alternative route over here that they're driving around. Yes, it slows traffic down a little bit, but it doesn't. They already have a way to get across.
There were 6 bridges, some reports say 7, that were struck. And this is a quick analysis here. The U.S. reveals why it hit the bridges. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Cutting supply routes to the Bandar Abbas naval base that attacks ships in Hormuz. Per the Wall Street Journal, citing senior U.S. official, the bridge strikes were aimed at severing supply routes to Bandar Abbas, home of the naval base Iran uses to attack shipping in the Strait. The framing matters. Military interdiction, not the civilian infrastructure campaign Trump threatened for next week. An unofficial target list spans the coast and interior, and they mentioned all the different areas that were struck.
Yeah.
So yeah, they seem to be targeting the bridges that link to the the coastal bases and locations that Iran has. To either
A bridge is a bridge. Majority of people using this bridge are still civilian. Yes, military use it too, but
degrade Iran's ability to control the Straits. I'm hoping that's the reason, or because the second one, the alternative, is something a lot more concerning, and that is a shaping operation for some sort of ground.
yeah, no wonder they went after the bridge linking Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. They'll go after more bridges and more infrastructure in response for this. You haven't seen the full retaliation yet from Iran.
Incursion.
Well, regardless of what it is, it's ultimately going to fail. If they, this level of destruction is not going to cripple Iran's ability to reject a ground, an amphibious invasion, a ground assault. And it's, you're looking at still thousands of coastal defense missiles and drones and underwater drones and surface level drones. We're talking both the drones that float on the water and drones that fly through the air. They got plenty to hit ships. And then if they've deployed mines, which apparently they have, the mines will do the work for them. They don't even have to put any forces out there at risk or risk highlighting a location by turning on the radar.
Yeah. And by the way, breaking just now from CBS, several U.S. service members were injured after Iranian attacks struck at least 2 military bases in Jordan this week. No American or Jordanian fatalities have been reported, and the extent of the injuries remains unclear. That just came in as well by CBS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. And as Iran continues to hammer those bases, the U.S. is going to be forced to abandon them if Jordan doesn't tell them to leave in the first place, saying, "Hey, get out! You bring too much trouble."
Yeah. Let's talk about Hormuz. One of the key points of everything that we're seeing. We talked about the IRGC claiming 2 oil tankers sailed into naval mines in the southern route and were set ablaze or blew up. Earlier today, Kepler confirmed, Kepler, the logistics company, confirmed crossings through the Strait of Hormuz fell to a 3-week low of 8 on July 16th. 7 of those 8 took the Iranian route. And 1, I guess, I'm assuming, took the Omani route. Only 8 crossings, according to Kepler.
Man, the one that took the Omani route sounds like it didn't do too well.
Yeah, maybe someone like hit the mine. We don't know.
I think we got a leak. We got a leak here. Get the bilge pumps going.
Actually, no, you might be right. The UK, I forgot to mention it. UK MTO reported earlier today. Let me see exactly when. That could be related to that ship that went through. That was, that was yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, 17th. No, today. Sorry, today. Time zone because I'm after midnight. Today. Reports a maritime incident 100 nautical miles off the coast of Oman. It's unclear if Iran targeted the ship. Oh, that's interesting. It's really far from the Strait of Hormuz. Can you show that map, that image, Stephanie? Let me send it to you. It's interesting because, that's far from the Strait of Hormuz. So I don't know if they targeted a ship that far from Iranian waters. You can see that on the map there.
I thought it was hit by a mine. No,
that's separate. So that one in the afternoon. The mine one just happened now. Unless this one was also hit by a mine that I don't know about earlier today. That's where it was pretty far from the Iranian waters and the Strait of Hormuz. But that's close to the Strait of Hormuz. So that could be that could be the one that was trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, that's just a little ways out of the Strait of Hormuz, not long distance.
No, it's down south. No, I'm right. I'm wrong. So no, it's all the way down south. So it's a bit odd. Duqm, Oman. Let me see where that is. If you can say Duqm, Oman on the map, please, Stephanie, for the audience to see Duqm, Oman. It'd be funny if this is funny in dark humor way. That if this is this is far from the Strait of Hormuz.
Right here.
I already have it on the map. Let me send it to you. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is Duqm. So it's far from the Strait of Hormuz. So it's odd one. There's one that was damaged there. Maybe hit a mine, but there's no way mine would be all the way there. So I don't know if that's. So can I put the mouse over the Strait of Hormuz just for the audience to know where the Strait of Hormuz is? There it is. That's the Strait of Hormuz.
I'd hope people at this point in the war know where this strait is, the Hormuz Strait.
Comes there. So it's a bit far. I don't know if that was struck by a drone or something unrelated. But I did see a report as well of a ship that was hit hours after that one. I didn't save that one, but I saw that earlier today. So that could have been the ship that's going through the Omani side. Also, we do have a report of one vessel that was boarded by U.S. troops, and that one. So we saw that report, I think yesterday or early this morning. But that one was loaded with Iranian oil. So the Americans have also boarded an Iranian ship loaded with oil. Because we do know, just a reminder for the audience, there's also an Iranian blockade that is ongoing right now. Sorry, an American blockade as well, supposedly going on as well. So, it's a shit show. That's the best way to kind of describe it.
Yes.
Yep. And the one running it in charge is Iran.
Oh, wow. Okay. They've also struck a tunnel. They've struck a lot of infrastructure. The U.S. is also attacking alternative mud routes in the Bandar Abbas area after destroying most of the bridges. What are they doing here? So this one there, this is the Shahid Mirzai tunnel in the Hormozgan province, southern Iran. So they've just struck a tunnel as well. So they've struck the bridges. Now we have reports of them striking tunnels.
Trying to
another bridge was struck as well.
Yeah, this is for a land operation. You don't isolate a region like this if you don't plan to do something on the ground. These bridges and everything get repaired. These mud routes, you bomb a mud route, that was probably where we saw all the cars going through the mud next to the river. That was a mud route. If you bomb that's repaired in a day, or 2 or 3 days. The only reason you do that is for disruptions, immediate disruptions for that last next 2 or 3 days. If you're going to do something like this weekend, a ground invasion, then you do these types of strikes.
So bridges and tunnels are being struck around Bandar Abbas to disrupt Iran's logistics for some reason.
So that if they land troops on wherever this area they're targeting, Iran can't easily bring in additional troops.
Iran's going to respond in kind.
It's not going well.
Don't need to make this overly complicated.
That car is upside down.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Gulf, because the Gulf is not looking good. We have the Houthis have warned Saudi. Okay, no, this is the report of Pakistan. You've already told me about it. This is a report from Reuters. According to Reuters, quote, after the Iran-aligned Houthi movement launched an attack on Saudi on Monday, nuclear-armed Pakistan told Iran it would treat attacks on the kingdom as attacks on itself. It told that to Iran. So it sent a message to Iran, supposedly, and you just pointed earlier, symbolic, but the Pakistanis sent a message to Iran that an attack on Saudi, or telling them not to attack Saudi. And that's a position that the Pakistanis have had for a while. They don't want things to escalate.
I don't think China wants Pakistan fighting Iran. China is Pakistan's biggest backer, and I don't think they'd let Pakistan go to war with Iran.
And I think the least you'd expect them to do is send a message to Iran. A symbolic message would be the least they would do. But you're not worried at all that they could do more than this symbolic message?
Not right now, no.
We've got more satellite images coming up. It's not worth showing. It's just so much of it showing the damage in the various American bases in the Gulf. There's even reports of one of the bases, the Sheikh Zayed Air Base in the UAE, was also attacked. Now, the UAE reported a fire around there that was caused by an accident. But it looks, according to an OSINT account, they're saying it might have been struck by the Iranians as well. So potentially unconfirmed. Then the American base in the UAE was struck. Fortified warehouses in that base. Yeah, the strikes, as we've said earlier, because of the Chinese satellites, they're a lot more precise. Also, the UAE, so I'm going to talk about the Gulf and what they're going through right now. The UAE's Dana Gas has suspended operations at all main production facilities in the Khor gas field in Iraq due to credible security threats.
And there's a well, just note on that point, they suspend, basically they suspend pumping. It really shuts down the oil well. It's not just a matter of, turn the spigot back on and the oil starts flowing. That's not how that works, is my understanding.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, this one's a gas field, the one in Iraq. But yeah, the oil refineries, the one I just talked about now, but the oil refineries, as they get shut, and the ones that were shut. The big issue that was being discussed before was if those oil wells, if the storage facilities are all filled up on the Iranian side and the Gulf side, and then they have to shut down the oil wells. And in some cases, they can't restart them at all. And in other cases, it takes a long time to restart with significant damage. Now, we're not seeing reports of that. So I'm assuming that the Iranians and the Gulf countries are able to still get their oil out. We've seen ships go out on a daily basis, not the amount of ships they would like to see going out. But we're not in a situation before where they were not able to get any oil out. So We haven't gotten to that level, but if this continues going on this path, then we may have that issue again.
Well, no, they got the issue still. I mean, there's already a shortage. Not enough is coming out to make up for the shortage.
Yeah. Oh, of course, on the supply side, there's a massive shortage, especially on the refined oil side, because of what we're seeing in the Gulf, what we're seeing in Russia, and what we're seeing on the Chinese side. They've increased demand again. Yeah, on the oil side, especially the refined oil and the sulfur, which we talk a lot about. Yeah, it's not looking good at all. Which is another reason, in case we needed more, that this is just not making sense. And I don't think it could. I'm in your camp that I don't think they can sustain this for much longer. There's too many things going against it.
Yep.
Talking about Pakistan, there's another report. There's a lot about Pakistan today. So according to Reuters, again, Pakistan has been negotiating an expanded defense pact with Kuwait in exchange for energy cooperation and investment. The talks remain at an early stage and could still be complicated by heightened tensions between the US and Iran, as any defense deal with Kuwait would also raise questions about Pakistan's role in future mediation between US and Iran. Kuwait is now seeking a show of force by Islamabad that would be similar to Pakistan's pact with Saudi, including thousands of Pakistani troops on the ground, fighter jets, drones, in air defense system, and other defense-related activities. It is unclear whether Pakistan is willing to go this far, given that its agreement with Saudi was the result of decades-old close alliance with Riyadh.
The really interesting part of this is this a replacement of the U.S. bases in Kuwait? Like, is America's going to get kicked out and the Pakistanis come in? Because if it's just adding to Pakistan, it's not that big a deal. But if these negotiations are part of the plan to maybe kick the U.S. troops out, this is very significant.
But this is something we've discussed as well, is that we are going to see that new cooperation between all these different countries, that defense pact. Remember how we talked about Qatar, Saudi, Egypt, Turkey. What else? Pakistan.
Yes, this new defense pact is interesting. But, for example, Saudi Arabia still has all these U.S. bases everywhere in Saudi Arabia, despite having a defense pact with Pakistan. So if that's just going to be like Saudi Arabia for the entire region, where they have a defense pact with Pakistan, but they keep all their U.S. bases, then nothing really changes. And because Pakistan isn't going to rush in and defend them if they get into war with Iran again. But if U.S. bases are forced out and they're basically replacing them with Pakistani troops, it's a completely different ballgame.
Pakistan forming some sort of alliance, and it seems, and maybe more Gulf countries would join, and maybe Iran would join. And according to Reuters, Kuwait is looking at that as well now, to do some sort of defense pact with Pakistan. So the region is changing.
Yes. Well, and remember, now the U.S. has essentially been forced out of the region, at least militarily. Fifth Fleet headquarters does not inhabit.
It's in the process of being forced out. It still has, a fingerhead nail hold on the region. But that's going to be gone too soon.
You can't inhabit it. The Ali Salam Air Base, the Alisa Air Base in Bahrain, again, not very useful. So the U.S. has had to withdraw its forces for fear of incurring casualties.
Yeah. It's moving faster than I expected, though. All these things, they usually take a long time for these Gulf countries to form these alliances, for them to diversify their defense capabilities, for the breakup. So, I remember talking about these months and months ago, the breakup between the US and Israel. Potentially, maybe it's not even a breakup, but this is all just...
What breakup? They're about to integrate their military and intelligence services. Those are bills before Congress that look like they're going to pass. Combine the CIA with Mossad. Combine the Israeli military with our military, the U.S. military. And that means Israel has access to every U.S. military secret in terms of technology, in terms of intelligence gathered by CIA. Israel will have everything automatically. That's the great job our Congress is doing, passing these bills.
Just a facade. But all these things seem to be moving in that direction, but really quickly. The consequences of this war being felt within weeks, which is wild.
Yeah.
There's a report as well. I think it doesn't say who it is. I didn't save the source. A Reuters poll about the Gulf economies and what they're going through found that most Gulf economies are expected to face deeper contractions this year than previously forecast before recovering next year, assuming the war ends, as fading hopes for a swift US-Iran de-escalation. Kuwait and Qatar recorded the largest downward revision, with both economies now expected to contract 8.1% this year. Holy shit. Initially, the forecast was a 4% and 6% decline, respectively, for Kuwait and Qatar. Now it's 8%. Then there's Bahrain, shrink 5%. The UAE is doing well. Wow. The UAE economy is now expected to decline 0.5%.
For now.
Saudi and Oman remain the only GCC countries expected to post growth this year. So Oman, Saudi, and the UAE did pretty well. Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar are screwed. Jesus.
Yeah.
8% contraction.
Well, that's not surprising at all. Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, they're completely blocked. They've got no way to get the oil out except the Strait of Hormuz, and that gets shut down. No oil exports for them. Whereas United Emirates still has the pipeline. It goes like this, and they can get oil out that way. Saudi Arabia has a pipeline that goes over here and get oil out this way. And Oman is completely unaffected by the closure of Strait of Hormuz. So, of course, those countries would be doing the best. And the ones that are completely blocked would be doing the worst.
UAE is okay as long as it stays out of the war.
Agree. All of them, they can't afford, and I don't know what they're doing, but whatever they're doing.
They're puppet states. These, like Kuwait, it depends on the U.S. military bases. I mean, you can see from the air, like several U.S. military bases. They've got like 4 different areas. They prop up the regime in Kuwait. They're not only puppets. If the U.S. went out, the government would be overthrown. We militarily prop up this undemocratic regime here in Kuwait. That's why we can get them to do whatever they want. They are our puppets. We protect them. We own them.
It's working. They're not being struck much for now. But what I was hoping...
That's why they might want Pakistan troops to come in, because they need a protector. Kuwait is not a democracy. It needs a military to keep the people in line.
During the war, remember when we were talking, as I saw those reports of them having attacked Iran, I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And I was like hopeful, but thinking that they would have a policy of neutrality. And it seems they're doing this. Trita's more skeptical. Trita's telling me, Mario, the UAE has been extremely hawkish, and he wouldn't be surprised if they remain hawkish. But for me, it just doesn't make sense for them to be hawkish when there's Iran up north, a country of whatever, 93 million people, whatever it is. It doesn't make sense for any small Gulf country, including Saudi, to be hawkish in this scenario.
Right. No, I agree with you. Well, Iran's, trying to maintain open lines of communication with these countries, but the smaller ones, will be more likely swayed by the United States, for now anyway.
More likely they're owned by the United States.
Such time as it seems, hey, the United States is no longer a reliable partner.
Yeah, I don't know what Kuwait and Bahrain are thinking. I don't know if there's some sort of deal that forces them to allow the U.S. to use their territory, or they're hostage to the U.S. because they can't, there's too many economic links. There's something there.
No, they're undemocratic regimes in the Middle East, and it's the U.S. presence here is one reason there is an uprising to overthrow them, is because the U.S. troops move in and suppress it. They literally cannot survive without U.S. troops in the region. These countries are complete U.S. puppets. But Saudi Arabia is a little different in that it's bigger and it could potentially survive without U.S. presence there. But the small ones, yeah, we own them.
For Kuwait and Bahrain to keep allowing their territory to be used for these attacks on Iran, because they're getting pummeled daily. And now Qatar, that's a bizarre one. Qatar is mediating, talks about them unfreezing money for Iran, and they're being pummeled. So I don't know what happened with Qatar. I don't know how the UAE managed to get out of the pummeling they were going through. So I don't know what they did. And for Qatar now to be pummeled. During the war, it was Qatar that was avoiding, and now UAE was getting pummeled.
It was all about Al Udeid, and bringing more air assets in there. Potentially some personnel, but, Iran keeps hitting it at some point. The cost-benefit analysis arrives, and they'll realize the U.S. DCM, Deputy Chief of Mission, we got to, pull them out.
In other words, Al Udeid Air Base is being used to strike Iran. And so that's why Qatar is being pummeled. Iran wants to take out that air base now.
You can't continue this way.
Yeah. This is bizarre. It's bizarre because during the war, Oman and Qatar avoided most of the attacks, and the UAE was attacked more than all other Gulf countries combined, was attacked more than Israel. Now the UAE is almost not attacked at all. There was, I think, only one day, potentially 2, very limited attacks. And Qatar is getting pummeled, especially yesterday.
And because it's limiting U.S. aircraft flying from there and operating from there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, because during the war hot phase, this airbase, Al Dhafar Air Base, was used heavily against Iran, and so United Emirates was heavily hammered by Iran.
Because I think, again, as I said earlier, those attacks that are down along the southern coast of Iran, those will be carried out most likely by carrier aircraft. I think the damage that's been done in Jordan is limited what the United States can do with aircraft out of there. Not completely, not yet, but the complete denial of service from those airfields, I think, is coming within the next week.
And also an interesting observation today is the land-to-land missiles. We talked about it yesterday, how there won't be enough capabilities.
So there's three things wearing down the United States' ability to wage war against Iran. The destruction of the air bases and airfields around Iran that the United States can use to attack country, our depletion of our stockpiles of precision ammunition, and the growing oil shortage.
In Kuwait and Bahrain to keep striking Iran. They haven't used any of them today. Today's all been aircraft. And
They're probably all out.
Yeah, potentially. And the last topic, probably the most interesting, or the second last before we talk a bit about Lebanon. Interesting. Yeah, so this, did I tell you yesterday, I think this yesterday or today, did I tell you that Iran sent a warning to al-Shara, the Syrian president, that if he attacks Hezbollah, they'll bomb them? They'll fire missiles and drones at Syria. Did I tell you that or no?
No, we didn't talk about that, but that sounds about right.
That's obvious. Of course it would. And Syria is fairly close to Iran. Just, Syria's here. So yeah, it's closer than Israel. They just have to fire missiles over Iraq.
Right, and I think that's why al-Shara is going to comply with Iran and not with the United States.
Oh, he'd be stupid. Even without the Iranian warning, he'd be stupid. We talked a lot about this, but he'd be completely stupid to go into a war with Hezbollah. First, he's falling into Israel's trap. He needs to focus on getting Israel out of the southern territory and bringing his country together, not dragging his country into another war. There were protests against him today in a big city, and I think there were some clashes. So he needs to sort his domestic issues, number one. Number two, he doesn't have the military capabilities. Hezbollah would cause a lot of damage and destruction to the Syria.
And Israel is to blame for that. As soon as Assad fell, Israel just bombed the hell out of every military installation in Syria, destroying all their military equipment. Because Israel wanted Syria weak. But weak Syria can't help against Hezbollah.
Syrian military. And number three, now he's got another reason, and that is the Iranians.
Correct.
So, yeah. If he attacks Hezbollah, it means there's a threat to his life. Like Turkey or someone or the US are like, hey, we're going to kill you if you don't attack Hezbollah. That's the only way I would be able to explain it.
Yeah.
No, there could also be a check situation, like 7-digit, 8-digit check, if he does what US and Israel want. There's also that option. Bribes too.
I don't think, even though he comes out of a radical Islamic background, I don't think he's going to go suicide on this.
Agree.
I think he prefers getting the haircut, the beard trim, and wearing the Brooks Brothers suit.
Yeah.
Hey, look, check out these threads.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing before we talk about the developments in Israel. There's one interesting story there. Two interesting stories. Syria has seized the shipment of Iranian weapons that were bound for Hezbollah. What's been found is 100 fiber optic drones. There's images of it. I wish I saved it. Sent it to Stephanie. Dozens of anti-tank missiles, missile and rocket components, and drone components. Let me see if I can find it. But that was a report that came out today. I'll send it to you now, Stephanie, to show it to the audience. That's nothing too significant. We've seen that happen before. But that will be Syria's way of giving something to Trump. And there it is. That'll be Syria's way of giving something to Trump without being dragged into a full-blown war, of trying to prevent weapons or weapons going to Hezbollah. Ballistic missiles have just been launched from Iran. So Jordan most likely is being targeted. So the retaliation by Iran has started. So expect, just for the audience, expect Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan to be targeted, potentially Qatar. It depends on how extensive the damage was from the, you can click on the images from the Americans on Iran, but this is the interception there. So while the audience looks at that, so this is an interesting story, Larry. According to Axios, Netanyahu has been trying for more than 2 weeks to secure. There's two stories. That's not the one I expected it to be. So let's talk about this one.
They may have intercepted this one, but I'm sure a lot of other shipments got through.
When you mentioned it, according to Axios, Netanyahu has been trying for more than 2 weeks to secure a White House meeting with Trump, but no appointment has been confirmed. White House officials were surprised to read in Israeli press reports that a meeting was scheduled for Monday. Netanyahu's planned trip to the U.S. for Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral was canceled after the service was postponed. So it seems that, according to this report by Axios, that Trump is giving Netanyahu the cold shoulder. So either it's true, or even if it's not true, then why would Trump leak this story to Axios? He's trying to send a message that there's a divorce between the two.
Right. Yeah.
Fun to watch, isn't it?
Well, again, we just had this dust up.
Again, both of them know that politically it's bad for Trump to be seen as Netanyahu's bitch. So it could just be a little bit of acting on both their parts, and a cold shoulder. Netanyahu wanted a meeting, didn't get one. It's just rumors. So you can't take it too seriously. On the other hand, it's potentially true, and I think Trump has reasons to be upset with Netanyahu. So what we need is for Trump to do something actually in a big way. Like, if he forced Israel out of Lebanon, yeah, I believe there was a break between Trump and Netanyahu then. We're absolutely 100% sure. Till he does that, it might all be theater.
Between the U.S. and Israel over the AC-135s. Now more coming in, but it's going to make Israel more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So not exactly a great play.
Another story about Netanyahu, and this one I want to get your thoughts whether he's... I'll ask you the question at the end of it. This report by The Cradle, which I've had the journalists from The Cradle on the show before, a couple of them. Netanyahu seeks extended security for family in case of election loss. Netanyahu pushed to extend security protection for his wife and sons in order to shield his family in case of... that's Ynet. In case he loses the upcoming elections. Sources told Haaretz, with Netanyahu also requesting that his own security be extended for the rest of his life, per Ynet. Shin Bet chief David Z agreed to Sarah Netanyahu's request for lifelong protection.
I have a solution for Netanyahu for the rest of his life protection. I'd make a very secure jail cell, and he can live there for the rest of his life. And there could be prison guards, that his own personal security detail, that keep him in that cell, and he'll be very safe. That's my solution to this.
After the agency was pressured into changing its professional opinion, according to Channel 13, which said the agency also recommended extending the son's security by 5 years, regardless of whether the threat level continues to justify it. The extension requires approval from ministerial committee, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we talked about Trump being the target of an Iranian assassination plot. Netanyahu, I'm sure, is higher on the list than Trump.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. But Iran's not going to assassinate Trump.
Yeah, not now. Not when you're on the verge of humiliating him.
What about Bibi?
I don't see them going deliberately out of their way to target him either. They're going to content themselves with demilitarizing the U.S. presence in the Persian Gulf and in Israel. If the United States retreats to Israel to try to continue launching these operations.
They also know that Netanyahu, there are multiple people in line to replace Netanyahu in Israel that are just as hawkish, if not more so.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see this pattern over the next week, at least. But, we saw today that the stock market sort of had a big drop because of the concern about the price of oil going up. It was, let's see here.
I've got it. Brent, WTI is at 81.
Dow went down 406 points. NASDAQ 361, and S&P went down about 1%, 76.
Speaking of oil, it's going up. I've said 150 by the end of August is my prediction. And I predicted it when we were about here, I think. And I stand by it.
Holy shit, as well. Brent crude and WTI have spiked. I know you don't like looking at the paper price anymore, but the WTI is up from 77. Sorry, Brent's up from 77 5 days ago to $88 a barrel. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Holy shit. And WTI is up to 81 5 days ago as well. It was 72.
Well, complete closure of Strait of Hormuz and an escalation in the war. Of course, it's jumped up.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah, so that's what's going to drive that.
It's still probably $70 short of where it should be, at least.
That's what was going to cause Trump to back off.
You don't think the Iranians, though, might target Netanyahu in, let's say, 5 years' time? Because Netanyahu's talking about security.
Yeah, he'll be dead in 5 years.
Yeah.
He's got prostate cancer.
I haven't looked into this. Hasn't it been removed or cured or treated?
It's been treated, I'm sure. But prostate cancer in men his age usually doesn't turn out too well. His age, my age.
And the last quick story here, a bit of a lighthearted but sick story, both at the same time. The Israeli government has taken initial leg steps to facilitate a controversial proposal put forward by Ben Gvir. You can't believe this. Which I need to fucking look this up because it's so hard to believe. Which seeks to deploy crocodiles around detention facilities holding Palestinian prisoners. Okay, according to reports from Israel's.
They heard about alligator Alcatraz in America and said, "We want that. Except we'll use crocodiles." Retarded.
Channel 7, the move is intended to establish the necessary framework for implementing the plan, which authorities argue is a security measure designed to reinforce perimeter defense and deter potential escape attempts. There is no way this is true. I'm just reading it as is. I'm going to check now. There's no fucking way.
It's possibly true. There was alligator Alcatraz in America, and they drew inspiration from that.
Ben Gvir is looking at putting crocodiles around a prison with Palestinian prisoners.
Where are they going to get the crocodiles so they can go to Egypt? Hey, Egypt, give us some crocodiles. No. If I know the Zionists, those crocodiles won't last long. They'll wind up as a pair of boots or a belt.
Yes, it's true. Come on, fuck off. Israeli National Security Ben-Gvir proposed a high security prison.
See, I called it. It was true.
And it's surrounded by crocodiles, dubbed alligator Alcatraz, inspired by a U.S. facility.
But how can it be called alligator if it's crocodiles? Okay, crocodile Alcatraz. Come on, good.
No, let me hear that.
Crocodiles. Cough. Israeli National Security Ben-Gvir proposed a high security prison for Palestinian prisoners surrounded by crocodiles, dubbed alligator Alcatraz.
Yes. So it's taken directly from alligator Alcatraz in the United States. That was inspiration for it. Mario might not have known about alligator Alcatraz, so that's why he's surprised.
Inspired by U.S. facility.
But how can it be called alligator if it's crocodiles? Okay, crocodile Alcatraz. Come on, good God.
Is there a prison in the U.S. that has crocodiles around it? No.
He does not know about alligator Alcatraz.
No. They had the facility that was put into the Everglades for holding detainees was in the Everglades. The Everglades is full of alligators and anacondas and all sorts of critters that can eat you.
So there was. They shut it down though, but there was an alligator Alcatraz in the United States.
There's sirens in Saudi and Jordan. Explosions heard over Al-Kharj region, central Saudi. Likely interceptions. Did they just fucking attack Saudi? Whether this is the Israeli police touring crocodile farm seeking to implement Ben Gvir's push for alligator Alcatraz. There's no way. Scroll down. Click on that tweet by Yossi Eli. Click on that tweet. Click on it if you can. I don't know if it allows you to do
That's why Mario was so skeptical of this. He doesn't know about alligator Alcatraz. Alligator Alcatraz infrastructure removed. See, it was a real place, a real holding facility in the United States, and it was dubbed by everyone alligator Alcatraz to hold illegal migrants captured in the United States before they're deported.
There's no way this is true. That is fucking crazy.
That looks
They're
more
touring
like
and getting crocodiles, man.
That looks like Florida, not Israel.
I don't know where that is, but oh my god, man.
That looks like Florida, not Israel. I have been to Israel. I don't recall seeing Israel with that kind of green, lush surroundings.
You can make any country green and lush. Any moderate climate or warmer country like this with enough water, except it takes a lot of water to do that in Middle East.
It's insane. Oh my god. So there's reports of explosions in Saudi. I would guess if Saudi was targeted, because it could have been missiles heading towards Oman, intercepted by Saudi. But why would Oman be struck? So that wouldn't make sense. Let me see if it's
could be Israel trying a false flag.
Could be as well, or could be the Iranians sending a warning as well for Saudi.
Yeah, but there's no evidence yet. Maybe there is. We just haven't seen it. The Saudis allowing their airfields to be used.
The sirens were in Al-Kharj, home to Prince Sultan Air Base. So maybe that was used, as you said. So it could be just a warning. Because that's far away from Jordan. It's not. It's all the way east, so it wouldn't be intercepting missiles. Breaking sirens at Yanbu, the largest oil pipeline in Saudi. Okay, this is significant.
Yeah,
the Yanbu pipeline.
If the Houthis are going after Yanbu, but again, you got to question who's firing. If it's not the Houthis, if you're the Israelis and hey, if we can make it look like it's the Houthis, and then we get the Pakistanis fighting Iran, that's going to take the pressure off the U.S.
Yep. That might be what they're
Yeah,
playing
that
for.
report, if you receive warning messages from the National Early Warning Platform for Emergencies, and they give the steps, so they're sending warnings, and there's warnings at Yanbu where the oil pipeline is. If that's true, that's freaking huge. Like every day it's escalating. We just said at the beginning of this, we're talking about, hey, the infrastructure in Iran was struck. What will Iran do? They'll respond in kind. This is Yanbu all the way south. This is the alternative, the east-west pipeline that Saudi uses to avoid the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians have struck vessels at Fujairah 2-3 days ago, and Fujairah was reportedly closed for temporarily as a precaution, and now Yanbu could be being targeted. Whether there's impact or not, if there's no impact, there's a limited attack, there's a warning shot. There's impact. I don't think Yanbu was attacked at all throughout the entire war.
Correct.
I really don't.
They left it alone. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just confirming now. I can't believe this is freaking happening, man.
Keep believing.
I can. It's Trump's last tantrum before he's forced to surrender to Iran.
Going to keep happening for another week and a half at least.
Yep, the rest of July.
Yeah, well, this is it. So they were in early 2026, March, April. There were drone strikes causing limited damage and brief disruptions in Yanbu in the midst of the war. But no, I don't think there was any missiles attack on it. It was drone. But yeah, this is it. This is happening as we speak. So we'll see. I'll go live again if there is impact or it escalates or the attacks continue. But it's every day we speak, it's getting worse, Larry. Hopefully that it's short escalation.
Going to get worse before it gets better, my friend.
It's better. Exactly. Always a pleasure. Thank you for your time on a weekend or on a Friday night.
Yeah, Friday. Weekend's coming.
Well, that's not good news. In this war, it's not good news.
I think I'll probably see you tomorrow.
I'm sure we will. Thank you, Larry.
Hey, and I wore my Bali, again, another Bali shirt.
Oh, I love Bali.
Well, this was a great video going over everything. I was just checking on my part if there's any news about the sirens going on at Yanbu. Nothing yet. They expect oil to skyrocket if there's actually any damage to that pipeline, because I think like 4 million barrels a day come through it. And that's another 4 million barrels a day gone if it's taken out. In any case, expect fireworks in the Middle East for the rest of July. A very long 4th of July in the Middle East. And in August, that's when I think we'll finally start to get some resolution to all this. And the global economy will start imploding. I would say look forward to that, but it's not going to be pleasant. But on the upside is it's going to be the end of the war. It is the key to ending this bloody war, is the oil shortage. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Can watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you next video. Bye.